The T-100 data bank is provided by the US Department of Transportation and contains full leg data for all flights to, from, and within the US. All carriers, which includes domestic as well as foreign airlines, operating domestic as well as international flights, are required to provide monthly their air traffic statistics. This makes the T-100 data a very valuable source for analyzing leg-related details. The data itself is provided by the Bureau of Transportation Statistics. I will provide a link to their webpage in the description. To download the data, we scroll to the bottom of the page until we find T-100 segment, all carriers. We click the download link and can specify the details we're interested in. For our example, we download all fields for the year 2019. The data is provided in form of a zipped CSV file. In this video, I'm not going to explain how to import a CSV file into Excel, but I recommend the belonging video from my playlist. Using the downloaded data, we're going to answer the following questions. We start with the route Frankfurt-JFK and the number of flights offered on this route in 2019. To answer this question, we could work with a lot of filters and creating subtotals. The easier way, however, is to get the answers by means of pivot tables. To create a pivot table, we select first the data we want to analyze. If you don't remember the keystroke to quickly select data, I recommend the belonging video. With the data selected, we go to the Insert tab and click Pivot Tables in the Tables group. A dialog box opens where we can cross-check the selected data and where the location for the pivot table report can be specified. The default location for a new pivot table is a new worksheet. In the pivot table fields pane, we can make now all required settings. To be able to select a route, we drop the origin and destination field to the filters area. To get the total number of departures for a route as a result, we select next the departure performed field and drop it to the values area. To display the result by quarter, we select finally the quarter field and drop it to the columns area. As a high-level result, we get immediately the total number of departures performed for the year 2019. Because we added the origin and destination to the filters area, we can filter this pivot table by route. By selecting Frankfurt as the origin and JFK as destination, we learn that 1,641 annual flights were operated. But how many of those flights are passenger flights? One way to answer this question is to exclude all records where the number of offered seats is 0. This can be done by adding the Seats field to the Filters area. We open the belonging filter, check Select Multiple Items, and deselect 0 seats. We learn that 1,437 flights remain. To answer the second question, we need to create a new column with scheduled seats first. We go to the first empty column next to our T-100 data array and enter an if function with a logical test that the scheduled departures in cell A2 are greater than 0. If the test is true, we want to get as an output the number of seats from column D. If the test is false, the number of scheduled seats is 0. Next, we select all data and create a new pivot table report. In the pivot table fields pane, we drop the fields origin and destination country name to the filters area and the field departures scheduled and our newly created field scheduled seats to the values area. Now we can select France as origin country and United States as destination country and see that 8,961 scheduled flights were operated between these two countries in 2019 with close to 2 million seats. On average, 222 seats were offered per flight. We start again with a new pivot table report. This time we direct the freight field to the values area and the origin country name field to the rows area. As a result, we get the consolidated volumes per origin country sent to the US. To find the country with the highest volume, we click somewhere in the Sum of Freight column, go to the Data tab, and click the Descending Sort button. The country with the highest cargo volume to the US is China. If you understood how to answer the previous question, this task should not be too much of a challenge. We create another pivot table report, drop the origin field to the rows area, the seats field to the values area, and the origin country name field to the filters area. Next, we deselect the United States as origin country, click OK, and sort the remaining data in descending sequence. The highest number of seats are offered out of London Heathrow. Again, we create a pivot table report and drop the origin country name field and the destination state name field to the filters area and sum up the total seats. Next, we select Hawaii as destination state and see that more than 23 million passengers were traveling to Hawaii in 2019. To get the passengers traveling on domestic routes next, we restrict the origin country to the United States and get 19.4 million as a result. Please note that not all of these passengers are necessarily domestic passengers. Finding the answer to our last question is a little bit more tricky. The standard pivot table report allows us to count the number of certain entries, like 3 letter codes, but not in distinct form, which would lead to many multiple counts for the given T-100 data. To create a unique count per 3 letter code and country, we need to add the T-100 pivot table source data to the Excel workbook's data model. In the Create Pivot Table dialog box, we click this time in addition the checkbox Add this data to the data model. In the pivot table report, we drop the origin country name field to the rows area and the origin field to the values area. Excel counts the number of used 3 letter codes for the different origin countries, however, not in unique form. To get the distinct number of airports per country, we right-click somewhere into the Count of Origin column and select Value Field Settings from the context menu. In the Summarize Value Field By list, we scroll to the bottom, click Distinct Count, and afterwards OK. As a result, we have the distinct number of origin airports per country.